Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance. Now, it's time to welcome two serial entrepreneurs, leaders, husbands, and fathers who are passionate about sharing the strategies that are helping them excel in life and in business. Here are Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey.
Welcome everybody to yet another episode of the Conquistador Podcast. For me, it is probably one of the most exciting moments of every day, having the opportunity to be here with my friend, partner, mentor, Mr. Hubert Humphrey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be with you again today and share some great dreams and vision and principles with all these great entrepreneurs.
I love it. And, you know, one of the things that I hear that is required to be able to be, successful is to be disciplined, to have discipline. And I was looking at the definition of discipline, and it basically says that it is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. Now, that may not be the angle necessarily, but it is the definition of discipline.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you were in prison and you were a prisoner, they're going to come in and they're going to put some punishment on you to keep order. Now, there's a place for it, and I think what the word discipline. First of all, the word discipline kind of starts with disciple. There's a positive slant on it that I think we ought to be focusing on here today too. A disciple is someone that is a strict follower of a success plan, a doctrine, or a system, a philosophy, or a set of rules by which they are under the control of, and so that's to be a disciple. Mm-hmm. Like Jesus, when he was preaching, he had his disciples, the ones that followed him. If you're a leader in business, you've got disciples of your business philosophy. Hopefully. Yeah. And the more disciplined they are, the more devoted and dedicated disciple that they are, the more disciplined they'll be at adhering to the success rules that you've got out there. And I like to tell people all the time that, hey, listen, I have the same boss you've got. Success is my boss, and success is a mean, tough taskmaster. And if you're not a good disciple of success, success will withhold the things that you want to have. He won't reward you, and so you got to be a strict follower. It means that you're willing to have a submission to an orderly way, a formatted way, a disciplined way is what you're willing to be submissive to it. Most people don't like to be submissive, but I found Mauricio that the first great principle of leadership is followership. Being submissive to in source. Most leaders are submissive to something higher than themselves. That's what makes them successful. People who just live by their own understanding and they're not aligned with anything else and think they know it all, immediately they're headed down the wrong path.
Absolutely. I hear you say many times that, we entrepreneurs have the same boss. He's a tough, he demands a lot, he's a mean son of a gun that demands discipline, right? In a way, that may not be word per word, but I know that discipline is such a critical part of it. And now, maybe when people hear discipline right now, they go back to the childhood. Like I remember, in Mexico, being in school, if I didn't do something right, I wasn't just disciplined physically by parents, but also teachers, and even all other adults in my hometown had the right, just for being adults, to discipline me if they found me on the street doing something. So it's kind of associated with pain, but I think it's deeper than that. It's not just what you just described. And so how can one self-comply with our boss called success to be more disciplined? Like how do we go about developing discipline? Because it's not just, there's a certain paradigm, right, that we can apply or employ to be more disciplined over time?
Well, there's a couple of thoughts that I can give you here. One is that the reward and punishment type deal, in our business, nobody's going to beat you up. And of course, sometimes if you're working for a company and they've hired you and they're paying you a salary and they've given you duties and responsibilities, and you violate those code of ethics or the way they want you to work, the punishment will be that they'll fire you or they'll demote you. Well, that's punishment there.
But the boss success also, punish you.
I understand that. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and success is really going to be your boss, it's the pain of knowing you're not going to get the things you want if you don't do what success demands. That's the pain. It's the mental anguish of knowing you're not going to get it, and then the fact that you don't get it and somebody else is living the life you'd love to live. Well, that's your punishment. It's that fear of the loss of that, and that's what an entrepreneur has to do. You got to self-regulate yourself in that way. And there's a great business quote that I learned many years ago, and I've heard versions of it over the years from most of the great successful people at the top of their profession or top of their sport. In fact, when I first heard this thing about 30 years ago, Martina Navratilova, who was one of the great champion tennis players of all time, she holds a lot of the records. She's sort of the Tiger Woods of tennis way back in the day, and she had this quote, and I've borrowed it, and it's now mine. I mean, I've assimilated it into my life. She said, "Discipline and accountability lead to ascension," meaning rising up, and dominance of your sport. And if you want to rise up the ladder to success, if you want to achieve the top level of success that you can reach, you've got to have discipline and accountability. And that means that you got to have strict adherence to success rules. Does that mean you're going to do it all the time? No. That's why a system, I call it system discipline. That's what saves many of us. In the businesses that I've built, we've used a system because we brought in a lot of greenies, a lot of new professionals, a lot of new people who've never had the experience before. They've only had employee discipline. They've never had entrepreneur discipline, and they're coming in here, and that system causes them to do what success demands that they do often enough, repetitiously enough, long enough until it compounds, and it has built into it is this constant course corrections, where if they're off course, the system kind of brings you back on course, and the leaders who are following this system are a part of that navigational guidance system, and it's that kind of business discipline. It attracts a lot of people to our kind of business because they know they've got a much better chance to succeed here with something that's going to save them from themselves than if they got to go out there on their own, never having had discipline. And I got to go control myself, learn to have all this discipline, and build a business. I don't think I could have done it if I hadn't had somebody somehow and a system that saved me. I don't think I could have ever gotten off the ground. I mean, besides all the other reasons. So that was one, and so in that system discipline, having a submission to some kind of a success system, which is nothing but a code name for success.
Sure.
All the system is a rules that success says in this particular field, in this particular endeavor, this is sort of the rules that you have. Each venture you're trying to do has its own set of success rules that you've got to adhere to, but but the big thing is that it's nothing to fear. Discipline is not something to fear. Being a disciple of something good does nothing but good things for you. It just means you're going to get better. You're going to get better. All a disciple is you're getting closer and closer and closer to being like the person or the thing or that you're following. Being a disciple is the art of becoming. You're becoming more and more like whatever philosophy or success philosophy that's laying out the rules for you. You're getting better and better. You're getting stronger and stronger and stronger all the time. So discipline is the key. In fact, that's the number one thing in our society that's missing. It's missing in politics. It's missing in the military. It's missing in schools. It's missing in homes. It's missing everywhere you look now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weakening of the discipline. Everything. In fact, the technology is wonderful, but you can also lose a lot of disciplines by using technology or letting technology kind of distract you with kids and things like that. And sometimes parents don't do enough parenting. They'll just let the kids fool around with the computers and be in smartphones and all the other gadgets, and they don't put the discipline out. So discipline is so important in every phase of our life, and we're on this earth for one of the main reasons is to develop the discipline to become better.
Sure. Yeah, the quote that you just phrased is very powerful, and it starts with discipline. Can you repeat that again for everybody listening to it?
Discipline and accountability. Those two things, discipline and accountability, will lead to ascension, meaning going up, ascension and dominance, which
powerful.
Is what you want to do in life. You want to move to the top in life.
Yeah, it starts with that, with discipline. That's what I wanted to point out. And now, when when entrepreneurs are building their companies, obviously, we always see that there's a big difference between managers and leaders, right? Managers,
Right.
A lot of people have seen those pictures where the manager's got a whip and he's like kind of like, demanding people to do some things. And you got the leader who is, in front of the pack, he pushing, being like that first, that leader that does things first, like putting the example. When we talk about discipline, how is, I see the manager kind of imposing that. It's like do this, versus the leader more inspired for somebody to become more disciplined. Can you speak to that a little bit, and how, in my opinion, it's better to invoke or to promote discipline through leadership versus by might?
It is. I mean, it is. And to me, a manager's doing more pushing, and a leader's doing more pulling.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, a leader's a do it first. I call it do it first discipline. I was raised in the business world back with Art Williams. His whole philosophy was do it, and then I sort of added the word do it first leader. That gives you do it first discipline. The best way to, if you're building an organization with employees or you got a team of salespeople, or if you got a team of entrepreneurs that you're trying to build a team of leaders, whatever you're trying to do, if you are out front, do it first type leadership, that example is going to inspire them and pull them up. Too many managers try to impress you with their might. Leaders try to inspire you with their example, and I could speak all day on that one little sentence right there. Do you want to? Are you wanting to impress people or inspire people? Which one do you want to do?
Inspire.
Then you had better have the discipline. The first discipline you got to have is to do something about you. You've got to make sure you are doing what it takes for other people to follow you. If they're going to have discipline, they want to know the person they're following has got discipline.
Absolutely.
And while self-discipline is what you ultimately want everybody to have, a lot of times you got to have sort of, a leader's got to be running a system and following a system and saying, hey, if you just follow the same system that I'm following, you're going to have the same success I'm having, and they'll believe you. That believability is there. They'll have faith to follow. Faith to follow is what discipline. That's the fruits of discipline as a leader. You manage things. You lead people. That's the key.
That's powerful. Now, many of the ways, or probably the reasons we act as adults, or adults, I should say. Still working on my English here. Working as adults. A lot of it has to do with, obviously, the way we were raised and the way that we were disciplined. How much of that is limiting people nowadays, not being able to maybe accomplish what they want because of that lack of discipline?
Well,
I think it has a lot to do, but
yeah, well, Well, there's a lot to talk about there. One thing is discipline with love or compassion or concern for someone. People will respond to that kind of discipline when they know it's somebody that's got the moral authority and they've got their best intentions for you and really want to help you. In fact, Andrew Carnegie, who became the first billionaire in this country, built a whole industry, the steel industry and other industries. He had built this big mastermind alliance and everything, which helped him have more discipline. He said that nothing incites and excites an up-and-coming leader than being held accountable by a master in his field. So for most people, even children, if they know their parent, if they really know in their heart, not just in their mind, but they know in their heart that my parents love me and no matter what, they love me unconditionally, even when I do something wrong, but now they're going to correct me and they're going to teach me. See, correcting and teaching for your own good is a form of discipline. Most kids will grow through that in life, and they may pout, they may act ugly, but if it's done with love and concern, sometimes if a parent really loves their children, they're going to put some discipline out there, and it'll pull them along. The children that are raised where there's nobody to give them that love, or it's just somebody's just irritated with them or bothered by them or just chastising them or punishing them and doesn't show them any love, that creates a big void in most people's lives. Not that they can't overcome it, and some people can grow up, turn that hate that they have toward the people that were into something successful. But even though they do that, they still end up missing something in their life. And it's amazing how they don't ever really give a lot of empathy to the people. Now they may push their way to the top, but they leave a lot of people out there that really would have loved to have had a little leadership love, if you will, along the way. So all that stuff is important. Discipline, it's got to be done by people with moral authority, with concern for whoever they are. A business leader, a military leader, a football team leader, or a parent, or any kind of business. If the people know that what you're telling them to do and what you're doing is for their own good, that's the key. That's the key to leadership right there. That's what people want.
Well, that is a strong message today. I think with that, we'll wrap it up, because I think what you're saying is if there is this lack of discipline, as you were describing, is probably because there is a huge lack of leadership. There's probably a true crisis of leadership. And that brings me into the upcoming event, which is coming up this coming weekend. March 26th and 27th, the Conquer event is here. And we have prepared something for you that is going to be epic in terms of how to really comply with that boss named success. How to really do the things that success demands in order to achieve the things that we want. And so I want you to go to conquerevent.com today, purchase your ticket, register, because it's going to be a 2-day of value-packed content. So go there now. It's conquerevent.com. And I also want to remind you that this podcast is made possible thanks to the sponsorship of Hegemon Group International. They are a company in business to help you go from where you are financially to where you want to go. They possess the vehicle. There's so many different opportunities out there, probably dozens, if not thousands, maybe millions of different opportunities that we see on social media every single day. But the vehicle in my opinion, that can really take you from where you are now to where you want to be in many areas, starting financially, but professionally, a career that can really give you the satisfaction that you are doing something good for the community and you're being paid very handsomely in return. Well, that would be the HGI opportunity. And to learn more about it, you go to hgiopportunity.com. That is hgiopportunity.com. Go there now, check them out, and I promise you, you'll agree in the end that that is the vehicle you've always been waiting for to create more wealth for you and your family. And with that being said, Hubert, I think we'll leave it to that on the discipline side. We'll see you on the next episode of the Conquistador Podcast.
Look forward to seeing everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.